My name is Jaylee Sharp, and today I'm going to be informing you about cell phone addiction. It's October 5th, 7:30. So who here has a cell phone? Does your day take a turn when you leave it at home, or do you find yourself checking it constantly? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines addiction as a compulsive, chronic, physiological or psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity that has harmful physical, psychological, or social effects. There really isn't much a cell phone can't do, which is why we rely so heavily on them, even to the extent of being addicted. Today, I'll be informing you of some things you might not want to hear, but definitely need to know. I'll begin by explaining how cell phones are a distraction in today's already busy world, how they affect our health mentally and physically, and how they've created an atmosphere that is antisocial. Distraction is not only affecting us in school, but also putting us in danger on the streets. Distraction is seen in school students, high school and college, through the attempt to multitask, listening to the teacher while also being on our cell phones. And it's affecting their grades. VeryWellFamily.com stated that students are spending up to 20% of their time texting, emailing, surfing the web, checking social media, and even playing games. It's reflecting their overall comprehension of what is being taught. And it might not be such an extreme deficit that is seen in the moment, but in the long run, it did lower their term exam by as much as 5% or half a grade. Now to the discussion of distraction in the streets, both for those driving and those walking. Cell phones catch our attention with ease due to how much is always going on, which in consequence puts people at danger, either yourself or others. www.wired.com referenced the company ZenDrive that found people are using their phones on 88% of their journeys. The average driver spends 3.5 minutes on the phone per 1 hour trip. Keeping that in mind, they also stated a 2-second distraction increases your risk of a crash by 20%. However, the responsibility isn't totally on the driver. It's also on the pedestrians. And according to Ohio State University, based on a nationwide study, reported that more than 1,500 pedestrians were estimated to be treated in the emergency room in 2010 for injuries related to using a cell phone while walking. Cell phones are also a concern for our overall health, whether that's mentally or physically. There are reports of sleep deprivation, increased anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts linked to cell phone usage. Sleep deprivation is a major concern because it's a main source of development and recharge. As children, adults, and elders, it's something we all need. According to sites.psu.edu, melatonin is the hormone that induces sleep, but the blue light released by our cell phones restricts its production. Thus, regardless of our body needing sleep, our cell phones that we love so much are tricking our minds into thinking we're wide awake. SleepReviewMag.com states that 7 in every 10 teenagers suffer from sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation keeps us from our full potential. It's the feeling of recklessness. It's due to the early starts and late finishes. Another struggle from cell phone usage is anxiety and depression, which may be caused by FOMO, the fear of missing out, as said thus by SleepReviewMag.com. Or maybe it's just the fact that everything in our lives is in one device. The depression can come from unrealistic social standards, the constant push toward the American dream, or even those posted comments that people wouldn't have the guts to say to your face. YP.scmp.com quotes, "If they aren't involved, they can feel lonely. If they are involved, they can feel pressure to keep up." The last concern that holds its burden on cell phone usage is the lack of communication. Elite Daily reported the average person checks his or her phone 150 times a day, and that isn't just smartphone users. We're all so eager to stay in the loop that it might just be what is kicking us out. The problem with communication in cell phones is unclear intention and the lack of face-to-face communication. LHSLance.org illustrated it as if two people are involved in an escalated conflict, and they each assume that the other is going to be aggressive and hostile, then any ambiguous message will be interpreted as aggressive and hostile, even if it was not intended to be that way. Today, technology is a necessity for communication, but what about in person? Cell phones allow us to strategically think out our greetings and messages. However, in-person communication calls for in that moment action. There is a higher stress because it's not an everyday required thing. LHSLance.org quotes, "The consequences of this are social awkwardness and social anxiety when confronted with new people. The lack of this skill, however, can cause it to be hard to find friends or to leave successfully from an interview or to network throughout your career." In summary, I've informed you of how cell phones can be distracting in an already busy world, how they are detrimental to our health mentally and physically, and how they've created an atmosphere that is antisocial.